On March 15th, Bill Maher was discussing with his panel the budget reform and how the Republicans constantly want to increase defense spending. Evidently, Iraq did come up in the discussion.
The 10th anniversary of the invasion of, well, the liberation, I meant. Did we invade or did we liberate? Let's just say we liberated.
I love how Bill Maher jokes and how the American media and Al Jazeera covered the Iraq war, but here is a more remarkable part.
Mitt Romney gave this speech in which he talked about our war for the liberation of Iraq. They still think Iraq was a good idea.
Okay, that's enough. Here are some statistics from the war. The costs during the war were near $1 trillion, and the total costs of the war will be around $6 trillion. Over 4,000 US soldiers died and 32,000 got wounded in action. Of those wounded soldiers, 1,000 of them are amputees. The more shocking number is the amount of soldiers that were in a shock. Notice that I refuse to use the word post-traumatic stress disorder because it kind of digresses from what they're really suffering from. And from the $60 billion that were supposedly used to rebuild Iraq, $8 billion just disappeared, which led to, thank God, 42 convictions of American contractors. By the way, notice how much it cost to fight a war and how little it cost to supposedly rebuild it. Isn't that ironic? But enough with the statistics. Here is something you would never hear from Bill.
But I will say this nice thing about George Bush.
I know you're probably thinking he will be bashing Bush for another gazillion time, but you will be surprised.
So many of the people who made these comments about the war, Dick Cheney and Wolfowitz and Rumsfeld, and they were so wrong. They've continued to speak about the war, which I think is unconscionable since they were so wrong. George Bush really did go quietly to his room and think about what he did.
Yeah.
In contrary to some other prominent right-wing commentators and politicians like
Bill O'Reilly did say, if the Americans go in and overthrow Saddam and he has nothing, I will apologize to the nation.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that to happen. Anywho, I'd like to end this show with a short but thoughtful segment.
Many Americans, I include myself, really ever understood what victory meant.
My question to you guys would be, how do you imagine victory after a decade of war? Please subscribe to my channel to support me making these reviews.